something is happening with WWE and TNA. I mean, at the very least, it sounds like they're going to be working more together with each other. I like it. It also means the prohibited portal is good to go, and crossovers are just good for the industry. Because if you can shake my hand and I can shake your hand, and then we can have a big hug, at least one other person is going to look at it and go, man, ain't that great. It also gives us a reason to go through the 10 most popular TNA matches ever. I'm not talking about the ones that you and I deem popular. I am using statistics, so I went to TNA's YouTube channel, and I found the 10 that are at the top of the tree. Let's go. Number 10, Britney versus Madison reign on the 2nd of July 2014 explosion. As of me talking, this has been seen 7.6 million times on YouTube. When I did my calculations, that is a lot. I'm sure there are reasons for this, but we're not going to get into that today. And as for the match itself, well, it's okay, it's all right, and if we are being a little bit honest, it kind of falls apart at the seams. For one reason or another, though, it does kind of feel like they're on different pages, and maybe that one of them is also worried about getting injured, so maybe they were already hurt. But always remember, neither of these individuals went out there going, oh man, I'm going to stink up the place. Sometimes you just have an off night. There is just a lot of hesitation here, and the shooting star press doesn't make any sense. But again, they are both way better than this. It's just one of those things. You can only learn when you do fall down, though. Otherwise, how are you going to get back up to hit a home run? Whereas I would say you need the downs so you can get the ups. Let's move on. Number 9, the Ultimate X match from Bound for Glory 2009. Born into the world in 2003, I would actually say this is TNA's greatest invention. I mean, the X Division itself was so damn cool, but having this crazy matchup where you had a big X hanging from wires that people were going to crawl across like it was Spider-Man, well, yeah, I'm going to watch it. So straight away, if you've never seen this and you want to compare it to a ladder match, I suppose you can. But this just had an extra risk of danger because you always felt like somebody was about to fall to the ground. The success rate of these was always high too. We just talked about people collapsing to the surface. What happens to Christopher Daniels and suicide during this? Like I say, this happened years ago and it still gave me heebie-jeebies. Amazing Red Homicide, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley also just go totally crazy here. And seriously, you could pick this up and place it in 2024 and nobody would be none the wiser. It's also one of those things that if you were trying to get somebody into TNA, you should put up on your television and say, listen dude, you need to watch this. And honestly, they've never really dropped the ball when it came to the Ultimate X match. I mean, there were some sort of below par ones, but mostly totally smashed it. Number 8, Rob Van Dam versus Sting on the 8th of March 2010 Impact. So I totally get this. In 2024, these are two legendary figures. So if you are trying to go through their career, then you go, oh my gosh, in 2010 they fought each other, you're gonna push play. The only shame is if you do start watching more TNA from this period, you have to go through all the Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff stuff. And I don't want to get into that too much here, but they just stripped TNA away of anything that was unique to the company. And I still don't understand why they did it. I mean, the worry was always don't make TNA WWE light. And these two made it crazy WWE light. But one of the good things is that they did bring somebody like Rob Van Dam in. You had this match with Sting, the icon, the legend, and Rob beats him in about 2 seconds. Now, I suppose it did get people talking, but that was negated by the fact that a few days before this, Van Dam had basically let loose in an interview, oh yeah, I am going to be debuting for TNA soon. Whoops. RVD then gets totally destroyed by Sting, because of course the Stinger needs to get his heat back, but look, overall, Rob was booked far better here than he was in other places, and over 6 million people have watched this. To be specific, 8.2 million. So you may now have realised I made a verbal typo there, but actually it's still accurate, but you don't need to watch this, and if I hadn't told you how short it was, you definitely would have been disappointed. Number 7, Gail King versus Awesome Kong, Final Resolution 2008. Now WWE likes to tell you that the women's revolution started in like 2016, but that's not true, because ever since the Knockouts division was born into this world, courtesy of TNA, well, that thing's been on fire. And two of the reasons for that is because the likes of Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, who didn't care about any of this nonsense, they knew they were good wrestlers, they knew they could go, so if they were going to get the opportunity, well, they were going to kill it. It was even more important in 2008 because, of course, in WWE, who had everything with the divas, so yeah. Just go and watch this today and marvel about how good they are. The match itself is so well played out too, because you do have this David versus Goliath mechanic, and Awesome Kong comes across as such a monster, and I tell you, Gail Kim can sell her ass off. The people watching absolutely love it too, and word of mouth must have spread through this one, because on YouTube, over 9 million people have watched it. Like I've said for other things on this list, If you are not one of them, go increase that number right now. Number 6, Sting versus Jeff Jarrett from Bound for Glory 2006. So this ties into what we've already talked about. You've got Sting and you've got Jeff Jarrett. I understand the intrigue of people going, I wonder what they did. The difference here, though, is that Sting felt so damn hot in 2006 because not only were the fans right behind him, but we were treating him like the last outlaw. Because, of course, Jeff Jarrett had been running rampant through TNA. Everyone was like, Sting, you gotta go kick his ass. It did make Double J the perfect heel though, as he had taken possession of this belt throughout 2005. So you just had the best to and from here. And once again, the crowd was totally invested. TNA was also patient with this, so when Sting finally won that championship, everybody went crazy. This is one of those moments where you're like, man, why couldn't TNA have just capitalized from this? But for whatever reason, they didn't. You also get one of the best no-sell spots when Jarrett takes his guitar and just levels Steve Borton right in the head. But he turns around just like, man, not today. Man, do I love Sting. It also all leads to over 10 million views on that there internet. Just another window into what TNA was. Number 6, Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong from the 28th of October 2015 Impact. So it's not a surprise that these two are back. We've covered this. They're just awesome. They always seem to turn their performances into proper main event fights, and here they were slap bang in the middle of a world title tournament to see who was going to crown the new damn champ. Now it's fair to say that when it comes to these two, this isn't the best of the best, but the fact the chemistry is still there, you're still able to put your tuchus in a chair and watch them and think to yourself, well, they've clearly got something. Also, even if you do walk away going, well, that was mediocre, it's probably because you've seen their other matches, and that's how hard the bar had been set. Kim also plays a more hardened veteran version of herself here, so it shows she has evolved, whereas Awesome Kong is still such an absolute beast, but I love it. And over 12 million people have seen this one. Once again, I totally get it. Number 4, Abyss versus Bully Ray at Genesis 2012. Is this big men slapping man meat? I guess it is. Now it's really important to mention how important Abyss was to TNA, because my gosh, not only was he damn loyal, but he put his body on the line time and time again. And if you need a WWE equivalent, he was essentially their Mick Foley. In 2012, he also came face to face with Bully Ray in a Monsters Ball match, which was essentially a stipulation where you could do whatever the flub you wanted. I think Bully must have watched what other people had done in this thing too, because him and Abyss go out there, and honestly, this is just a totally utter crazy war. 13 million people have also watched this on YouTube, and I think the best thing is that there's no nonsense here. I think both guys were determined that this was going to come across as like gritty and real and kind of terrifying, as opposed to silly and over the top. And I tell you, they totally achieved it. It's kind of brutal. It also totally sums up what this stipulation should have been, because sometimes TNA did go in the other direction, and well, yeah, I've said it once, I'll say it twice. Just a little bit silly belly. Number 3, Mahabali Shera versus Jenny Godderz from the 16th of January 2016 Explosion. So here's a fun fact for you. I once trained alongside Shera at Al Snow's Wrestling Academy around about 2016. So who saw that coming? When it comes to the support as well, I'm going to imagine a lot of it did come from India itself, where Shera had an absolutely crazy following. Although there is a lot of crazy during this. I mean, commentator Josh Matthews, I have to say, looks at Godard and says, I think he could be a future world champion. And look, anybody can be a future world champion, but I'm not sure you would get that from this. It's also going to be totally lost on you if you're an old school fan. But straight away you'll be like, Jessie, you were just essentially Chris Masters, the Masterpiece. Both guys are also pretty inexperienced, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's like when you tune into NXT these days. If you go, oh my gosh, I don't think they've been wrestling very long, it's because they haven't. So when people do karaoke and you come and sit back down and someone goes, well, that wasn't very good. It's like, what were you expecting? Celine Dion? She's not here. You do have to get your reps in though, and also if it's about drawing a crowd, 17 million people have watched this on YouTube. So if you want to go and criticize them, well, more fool you. Number 2, Hulk Hogan versus Sting at Bound for Glory 2011. We are here again because it is two legends fighting on a show that isn't WCW or WWE. That has some serious pull. It is important to note that Hogan was 58 here and Sting was 52, so they were never going to do that much, but as always, because they had such stage presence, I suppose, somehow they made it work. Kinda. I wouldn't necessarily say that's true for the live crowd either, and I just think this comes down to the wrestling at the time. Like, nobody wants to see these guys do Canadian destroyers, but on this evening, in terms of the people that were in the building, well, that's kind of the style that they were after. I think mostly you can just see how much pain Hulk Hogan is in, and nobody needs that. By the time Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair are getting involved, Well, here it comes, the shenanigans. We'd also done this time and time before, so it was a bit boring. And there's blood for absolutely no reason. And when Sting has to do his stinger splashes, well, he essentially runs over to Hogan and gives him a cut. You do have to hand it to Hulkamania and the Icon, though, because this has done way over 20 million views. So whatever it is that they once had, well, you know the chant, you've still got it. Number 1, Jessie, Godderz and Angelina Love versus Nux and Rebel from Explosion on the 20th of May 2015. What a world we live in, because this is indeed number 1. 38 million people have chosen this, though, over the likes of AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels. And I suppose if we were going to guess, it's because it's a mixed tag team match from 2015 on somewhat of a major stage. That was kind of novel. Otherwise, you do get what you expect here, although shout out to Nux, who was the former Mike Knox. He clearly had decided, well, I've got a point to prove. I'm going to put my working boots on. This guy flies. Otherwise, I have nothing to say about it. It's just a match, and if you'd like to watch it, cool, you have a good time. And if you don't ever choose to watch it, nothing in your life is ever going to change. It goes to show how mad TNA can be, though. You just never know what kind of results they're going to get. And it's why they're going to outlast us all. They've been going since 2002. They don't show any signs of slowing down. More power to them. Now, of course, please do get in the comments below, and if you have seen any of these matches, let me know your thoughts. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. When you can click this video on the screen, which is me talking about TNA some more, because I really do like myself some TNA. Also, thank you very much for joining me, my friends. Make sure you have a terrific day. I'll see you soon.